So
Okay.
I think we're about to happen here.
You know what happens? We let it build. We let it.
Oh yeah.
It's Wednesday. To the Evan and Aaron Show presents the Red and the Blue Soccer Chat. Sadly, for the last time, 122 season. Oh my goodness, man. Sad here.
Yeah, man. It's
I
don't
a
know,
bummer.
man.
It's a bummer.
I don't know.
It's
got me down a little
bit. It's
For me personally, the season ending is actually a good thing. I mean, puts United fans, players, club, everybody out of their misery, and can really truly begin focusing on. Oh, did we lose you, Evan? I think we lost Evan again. Well, while we're live, I will continue on. Yeah, it's a little bittersweet to come to the end of the season, especially when it's just been as poor as it's been for United this year. And I think Evan was having a good season there with Chelsea. So they were probably frustrated to not get things they were in the running for. But ultimately, they finished top three. It's they can look at it as a success and something to build on. Obviously, they're going to be disappointed having gone to the Champions League final the previous year and all that jazz. But as a United fan, not too disappointed to see the end of things and kind of get excited about the coming transfer window and how Ten Hag is going to begin going about making the team in his mold. So,
man, I tell you, dude, I have no idea what is going on. And here's the deal: since this is our final show of the 21-22 season, we may have to take a look at this Riverside piece, man. I have no idea what happens. Riverside, if you're listening, it only happens whenever we hit record. So anyway, brother, thank you for covering. Thank you
problem.
for jumping in. What are we going to start first?
Well, I think the elephant in the room, unfortunately, is that the world, has, or at least the world in the United States for us has been disrupted by another mass shooting. I mean, the funerals for the last one in Buffalo have only just begun, and we've got, another one. And I know a lot of people are angry and hurt, and I don't really want to speculate. And this is probably, for those of you who don't know, we'll be covering this in more depth on the parent show, the actual Evan and Aaron show pretty soon, because I think it's kind of hard to ignore, especially with what's been going on lately. And really it's sad. There's parents who are, got the worst possible news of their lives yesterday, and some had to sit and wait for hours to find out that terrible news. It's just horrendous. My heart goes out, and I'm with Steve Kerr on this one, as we posted. I'm sick of saying it. There are legitimate things that we could do. We're probably never going to completely end it and solve the problem, but to just throw our hands up in the air and leave ourselves beholden to the gun lobby and the NRA and the people who are paid heavily because of it, we just can't do. So that's unfortunately where I think we needed to start, because, as Steve Kerr said, this wasn't a time to talk about basketball, and we'll get to the soccer here, of course. But I just needed to acknowledge that, and it's an ongoing tragedy, and we learn more about it. And yet again, it checks off a lot of the boxes that we see every time. A young male with mental issues that were red flags, and the ability to get his hands on lots of ammunition and a weapon that is designed to do one thing, and that is to destroy what you pointed at.
Right.
It's heartbreaking, man.
You know, we were talking about this before, and first of all, it was one of the reasons why I wore the U.S. jersey is just because we have to come together as a country and really figure this out.
Yeah.
We cannot continue to be on different sides. I mean, we just can't.
Hmm.
This is not an issue where it demands debate. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. This is like saying, care for widowed mothers demand that doesn't demand debate. It just doesn't. We
Right.
we are we are literally using weapons in this society to extinguish the life of innocent people.
Hmm.
I understand that this happens. I understand that it happens, daily, which we could talk about a lot whenever about communities of color. You know, I have my own theories about that, but um, keeping this relevant to our day, I think that what we have seen in football, coming together around issues like racism, um, issues that affect the LGBTQ plus community, uh, you know, the Ukraine war. We've seen football unite,
Hmm.
and I'm sure that there are some lads out there who have been raised differently, who probably, if left to their own devices, may have thought differently until you put on that jersey and strap up those boots next to somebody who's Ukrainian, someone who is from Iran, someone who's from Saudi Arabia, someone
Hmm.
who is from a place different than you. You get an on the pitch and off the pitch education about people.
Hmm.
That's what sets football apart in my opinion, Aaron. I think that it's not just a beautiful sport just because of the athleticism, the wonderful play, but I think it's a beautiful sport because it is very much international, and it's recognizing and accepting of everyone, and understanding that people matter, understanding that there is a dignity of the individual that, unfortunately, in this debate about gun control in the United States, we get hung up on these two sides. If we all
Hmm.
can look and see that individual dignity, and that if we have these weapons at the disposal of people who are not right, people who have mental issues, but also, I'm sorry, but and once again, we can dive into this more.
Mm. I think there was a good point coming. Oh, you might be back. Nope, you might not be. Um, yeah, I think we're, yeah. Well,
Okay. Okay. Anyway, that's all I'll say about it. It
yeah.
is
We'll
a maddening thing.
we'll definitely dive into this. I think we'll be having a special show to talk about this and some of the other issues that have been going on. It's been a minute. For
Yeah.
those of you who don't know, Evan and I started out, um, really just trying to have a pub chat like you would, and then the spring and summer of 2020 had a lot of social drama. It's now the second anniversary of the George Floyd issue.
Hmm.
And as I stated, I'm not sure we really moved the needle a whole lot on that. But the show got a lot more political, and I think we covered a lot of ground on there, and maybe began feeling that we were putting some of the same negative energy out into the world that we were trying to avoid. So that's why we've switched over to the red and blue soccer chat, keep it a little bit lighter. But unfortunately, the life gets in the way sometimes. So we'll definitely be diving into that on the other show. But I think it was important to acknowledge our heart goes out, and I would imagine
Yeah.
we will be seeing sports play its part, certainly acknowledging it. And I would imagine, any games going on in Texas itself will be making that front and center as well. So
Absolutely.
as we let's see, we can switch over here. That's
There
inappropriate.
you go. Oh, there it is.
So Evan,
So
final day of the season. Got you some goals, I believe.
yeah.
That finished 3-0.
2-1.
2-1. Okay.
Ross Barkley got a goal, my friend. What about that? Oh, way to go.
Yeah, I think it's been a struggle for him, and I definitely think when he returned to Chelsea, he thought he might have an opportunity to get a bit more time, and
Yeah.
he just doesn't really fit the scheme there. How old is Ross Barkley?
That's a good question. I think I'm gonna guess that he is early mid 30s.
Yeah, I'm wondering if
Oh
it's
no, early. Well, he's 28. He's 28. He's
28.
not
So
30 yet. Yeah.
he should be in the prime of his career, and it just never really happened. I think he got a little too much hype early on there
Yeah.
at Everton, and then I think was he on loan at Aston
Yeah,
Villa?
for Aston Villa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and him and Grealish looked to be putting together a bit of a partnership, and then I think one or both of them actually got injured and kind of threw things off. And
Right.
I think Barkley is the kind of guy who needs a run of games. He needs to feel good about things. But I'm not surprised he scored a goal because I've always thought he's a good talent. I think he was overrated by English media and fans early on,
Sure.
which is to say he wasn't going to be the next Wayne Rooney. And if you'd have just said let the guy be Ross Barkley, we might be
Yeah.
talking about him in slightly different terms. But it
I
might be
agree.
time for him to head off to a Southampton, or maybe a Newcastle, where they're going to need veteran players to help learn how to win a little bit there while they get things right.
That
Who
is true.
knows? But
That's true.
you got goals, I believe, from did Romelu Lukaku score?
No.
No.
No. It was Havertz and Barkley.
Okay, so Havertz and Barkley, and I mentioned Romelu Lukaku. So there's three players who probably aren't going to be at Chelsea next season. What are your thoughts on the game overall, and what's your optimism, pessimism, neither, as you approach the transfer window?
Yeah, I agree. Running up to this match, man, we have said it week after week after week. Just looked like the club looked like they were done. You know, we're kind of done with this season. And that's okay. To still at the final game of the season, still be wondering if we were going to be when we had such a good run at the beginning of the season. That was kind of unnerving. Happy though that we are in Champions League play.
Well, either Evan's internet connection or Riverside is just not playing along with us tonight. So, yeah, the transfer window is going to be interesting for Chelsea. The nice aspect is that the UK government finally sanctioned the sale of the club, so you can pay people
Yeah, right,
after
right.
the 31st, and you can begin negotiating in the transfer market.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean, I don't think we'll ever know, but unfortunately, I think all of that drama may have cost you Rudiger. I think that level of uncertainty.
It might have. It might
and
have.
him wanting to get
I
a
totally
deal
get it.
done.
Yeah.
Or maybe he
Yeah.
just got his head turned and wanted to move on. That's fine. It happens. But, I think you've got a good foundation. There's definitely plenty of talent there.
I agree.
Tuchel's happy with what he's got, and I think he's probably right now having a discussion with the ownership group and general managers and saying, this is what I want. How much money do I have to work with? And he's probably already telling guys what they need to do over the summer.
Yeah. I think just to once again, you're right about Rudiger. I think that the uncertainty was there. I think that he just was like, look, I can't stick around. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, he has a credible offer from a
Well,
good
yeah.
club, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
So and maybe
if
he
Real
would've moved
comes a
on to
knocking,
Yeah.
you know, if they come knocking, you got to
Yeah.
go. I mean, you got to go. So, but yeah, no, I think that we're going to be okay. I think that we have, younger talent, to be, quite honest, that are showing incredible promise. I think that we can reload in that backfield, and hopefully cover up some of the holes that are going to be left. Rudiger leaving absolutely hurt. Here's what I'm worried about is when Thiago Silva says deuces.
Yeah.
Which will probably be next year.
I wouldn't think you're going to get more than 1 or 2 years out of him, and
Yeah.
you'll probably need to be watching his minutes throughout the season. I would imagine
Absolutely.
saving him for the
Absolutely.
big games and Champions League
Yeah.
is going to be But
I
that's
think
good
that,
though to
yeah.
save those minutes. You can get young guys into those games against your Stokes and Norwiches or whatever,
Yeah.
and see if
Absolutely.
they're ready for the show.
Absolutely. Kennedy looked really good. I like Kennedy. He's from Brazil. He came in, he created, he played well. And if that's any indication of what he can do, that's a nice little, that's nice to have. Good to see Chile back. My God, what might have been if Ben Chilwell had been there all season. You know how I feel about my Chile, man. You know how I feel about my Chile.
I do, and I question it, but
I know you do. I know you do. But the guy makes a difference. When he and Mount are on the field, there's this chemistry that is just there, and I think they play well around each other. I just think that they have this chemistry. Reece James coming off injury, there were flashes of him looking like the Reece James of old, and I think you give him this offseason, he's coming back. He's going to be back. He's going to be strong as ever.
Well, I believe he got called up to the England squad for the Nations League stuff during the summer, so he'll get competitive matches throughout the summer in a way that some of the other guys won't, so I think that does help him as well.
Yeah, so I think we're in a good spot. I think from our last show, I think the same thing is there. Shore up the backfield, shore up in back, and then also find that number 9. We got to find a number 9, and I think if we can do that, then we're set. I mean, even if we can't find a true 9, will we be able to compete and be able to compete with City, especially now they signed Holland? We won't be able to compete with Liverpool. You just got too much there. Salah. I do think though that we can be competitive. But if we really want to run for the top of the table, we're going to have to find that 9.
Yeah.
And I'm just not sure exactly where that is right now. And that's okay because I think Tuchel, for the few times during this season I've questioned him. I love him. The guy is on point 98% of the time. And so I think that with Chelsea, we did what we could with this season. Lukaku, there is a small part of me, Aaron. I know, but there's a small part of me that's like, give him one more year. I know, dude. I know, but I'm like, he's just not a good fit, and
he's not
and
a good
so
fit,
anyway,
and I think he's lost his. He used up whatever gratitude he may have had among the fans. I want to touch on 2 things. First off, and there's a little bit of sort of uncertainty about this, but I saw it retweeted multiple times yesterday, and it was that Christian Pulisic had removed all references to Chelsea from his either Twitter or Instagram bio. And then multiple people responded saying he never had anything Chelsea in either his Twitter or Instagram bio. But I see people continuing to post this, and I don't have a before and after, so I really don't know. His avatar is him wearing a Chelsea jersey. So I'm not really sure where people are going with this. I think people are wanting to read more into it than there really is. And quite frankly, until somebody comes in for him, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of talk about him necessarily leaving the club. I mean, I think there's the obvious people that could go. But any thoughts on that? Did you happen to see that?
Yeah, I did check it out, and you're absolutely right. He does have,
Right.
a picture of him, and I think it's Mount and those guys that are there. So it's on his banner,
Right.
and his profile pic has him, I think, with the FA Cup from last year.
Yeah. So
So I don't know. I don't, dude. I
I
just
was a
don't
little
look into
surprised
it
that
that
it was.
much.
I was a little surprised that it was Men in Blazers that had retweeted it because they normally try to stay out of that
Yeah.
level of stuff.
Yeah.
But onto the transfer window, I'm gonna give you two suggestions here.
Yep. Go ahead.
That I think one is an obvious choice. One is more of a wild card for a lot of teams. But Robert Lewandowski has made no secret that he would be interested in leaving Bayern Munich for a new challenge. I'm not sure exactly how old he is. I do think he's on the other side of 30, but he shows no signs of slowing down right now. Certainly Cristiano Ronaldo's age. I guess you can't really use him as much of an example, but again, age not slowing him down. And
Right.
Lewandowski isn't going to be asked to drop deep and do the work that he has to do for Poland. In the same way, he's going to be able to play like he did at Bayern Munich for Chelsea, just be the last guy to touch the ball and score some goals. So I'm going to say that might be somebody to throw your hat in. And
He's 33.
He's
I mean,
33.
it's right there.
Well, he's 33. He's been the best striker in the world, or certainly one of the top
Yeah.
three for the last couple of years.
Yep.
Was again this year, led Bayern to more success in the Bundesliga. So I could see him coming in doing a job. You're not going to have to pay a huge fee for him. I don't know what his wages are going to be, but I mean, who cares? But I think that could be a solution to your number 9.
I mean, it's 23 million euro. So I mean, in the grand scheme of things,
That's nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
dude just bought the club for $5 billion. If he doesn't have 43 million laying around in the couch cushions, then I don't know what's up.
exactly.
But here's my wild card suggestion for you:
Okay.
Gareth Bale on a free.
Wow. See, okay, I almost bit on the Gareth Bale thing. I thought he was leaning more toward you guys.
Well, I think that discussion was out there a year or so ago.
Okay.
I really haven't heard much of anything right now. The fact remains that the guy's obviously not made Real Madrid a priority, but Madrid haven't made him a priority. So, you look at what the guy's won in his career at Real Madrid. It's
Oh, yeah.
absurd. And
Yeah.
he's still only, I think he might be 28 years old. Let me check because I sent this to somebody the other day.
Oh. I can look it up real quick.
Maybe. He's 32 years old. He is 4 times Champions League winner with Real Madrid, 3-time La Liga, 2014 Copa del Rey winner, 4-time FIFA Club World Cup winner, 3-time UEFA Super Cup winner, 3-time Spanish Super Cup winner. So,
And once again, his salary is only 31 mil.
Well, yeah, I mean, and he's going to take a pay cut. He's going to have to take a pay cut.
yeah.
He's not going to get £600,000 or $600,000 a week to sit on the bench, surely.
No.
But he's the kind of guy that, for the right money, still could have something to offer. And he's lived in London previously as a Tottenham player, so maybe he'd like to return. Who knows? But he's one of those wild card things that you have the right conversation and he's interested to play because he's going to want to be in shape for Wales at the World Cup.
Oh, absolutely.
So he can't afford to just, I'm going to go work out by myself or I'm going to go back and play for Swansea or whoever. He needs to be somewhere where day to day in training he's getting high level competition. And then it's probably best for him he doesn't play a lot. But imagine having the option to bring that guy off the bench with 20 minutes to
Yeah.
go in a Champions League.
So I just looked at this, and it says that Gareth Bale is actually contemplating a move to his hometown club, Cardiff City.
See, that's
And I'm
exactly what I
like,
was
you know
just
what?
saying, though. I'm not sure that
I,
keeps him where he needs to be.
I don't think so either. I'm like, money talks. I
Yeah.
don't know if Cardiff can keep up with, I mean, obviously we
Oh.
haven't. Well, I have a
No, 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 no.
yeah, we have not, inked it yet.
Hmm.
I think we've signed it in pencil, but I mean, when Bully gets the club and when he's able to
Hmm.
actually start spending money, I'm not sure that Cardiff City can keep up with the
Right.
likes of like Chelsea or even
Oh, no,
Man
no.
U. They can't. They
Certainly
can't.
not. The reason for him to choose to go to Cardiff would simply be because he wants to be
Home.
back home.
Yeah.
But this just occurred to me. Newcastle.
Man, I'm telling you
I
what.
mean,
Here's
who knows where that
Newcastle.
club's going to be?
Newcastle has impressed me toward the end of the season, man.
Oh, yeah.
They really have, and I'm
Well,
like, holy crap! They are serious about putting some stuff together there.
Eddie Howe is the real deal. He's a good manager. He just needed his opportunity, and somebody finally needed. It's unfortunate who the ownership group is of Newcastle,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
in sporting terms, they're putting their money where their mouth is, and saying that we want to be one of the top clubs in the world. So, that's an opportunity. So we'll see. Transfer window is I think open already. If not, maybe it's June 1st. I'm not sure, but it's soon, and it's a World Cup year. We're going to see a lot of movement, I think.
Speaking of the transfer window, we are going to now transfer to Man U. My friend, hit it. There you go. My friend, my questions for you, actually, a question for you is just a sum up of the season. And actually, no, it is two questions. Sum the season up and give us some positives that you saw from the season.
Well, I think they kind of go hand in hand. I mean, I think the season started out fairly brightly. They were building off a second place finish last season. Ultimately, I'm not going to say I don't blame Cristiano Ronaldo because very obviously,
No.
without him, United would not have been able to finish even where they did, as poorly as
Absolutely.
the season went. But he was not part of the plan. And because he wasn't part of the plan but needed to be accommodated, it really changed a lot of things. You throw in the fact that just about everybody in the squad who played at the Euro last summer just either looked completely gassed or got injured or both. I mean, Fernandez, honestly, I just think the entire season he looked tired, and I hope he gets a little bit of a breather over the summer.
Yeah.
Cristiano's really the only one who didn't, and I mean, again, he's freak of nature. But Pogba obviously struggled with a variety of issues. Maguire, Luke Shaw. I don't rate Dalot all that highly anyway, and he doesn't really. I don't know how much he starts for Portugal. But I mean, a lot of guys just didn't really look good. So I think one weird backhanded compliment, positive to take from all that is we had a lot of guys at the club who did not perform anywhere near their best, and you know, people say what they want. The team still finished in sixth place.
Right.
We're in Europe. It's Manchester United. This happens. Ask plenty of other clubs. This occasionally happens when you're trying to rebuild. It's been unfortunate, but I think the positives are there's some guys that do clearly want to be there. I don't, Bruno Fernandez was disappointing at times this year, but I don't question whether he wants to be at the club. Cristiano
Yes.
Ronaldo seems excited for Eric Ten Hag, and I think he really realizes at this point he can't be playing 90 minutes week in, week out, and that he might begin to take on a slightly different role.
Yep.
That's a good thing. David De Gea is arguably one of the best shot stoppers on the planet still. He's probably going to be back. Jadon Sancho took a minute to bed in, but I think he really started to improve over the course of the season. Anthony Alanga is a bright spot.
Love
We've
that
got
kid, man.
we've got
Love that
James
kid.
James Garner is most likely going to come back from loan to Nottingham Forest and should get an opportunity. So maybe we don't have to spend $100 million on a Declan Rice or something like that if we've got a
Mm-hmm.
homegrown player. This
Mm-hmm.
Garnacho kid is supposed to be the real deal. So, and again, Luke Shaw late in the season with an injury, but came back trying to get healthy. Hopefully, Marcus
Love me some Luke
Rashford,
Shaw, man.
gets his head right in the off season and can get himself back in a healthy place. Several people are gone, and we've kind of known it for a while. We knew Matic was going to be gone. We knew Mata was probably going to be gone. I would not be surprised to see Eric Bailly leaving the club. Um, maybe Fred and McTominay.
Oh wow.
There's going to be a major overhaul because I think there are some just chemistry issues
Yeah.
going on. And it sounds like it's been really terrible locker room for a good portion of the season. So, the biggest positive is it's over and there's a new guy in charge who has already begun to, shape and mold what he wants this club to look like moving forward. He's saying and doing all the right things, and the ownership is putting new people in place, replacing people that weren't doing a very good job previously. So, it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. That said, this should be a top four club this time next year. And I think they can be with the right players coming in. So,
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I mean, for me, I think you hit the nail on the head. It was interesting just to see Man U try and figure things out during the course of the year. I I got to think that Ten Hag coming in looks at this team and says, okay, and I'm going to say there are bones there. There are incredible bones there in that team that you can build off of,
mm-hmm.
and you can bring them back to what Man U really is.
Yeah.
The Man U that we all know, the Man U we all love. It's just we that can happen. I
Yep.
think that, like you have said several times before, and I just want to get your about how long it might take, but it's going to take some time, man. It's not going to be Ten Hag coming in and then, doing some changes in the offseason, and then next year they're competing the title. I mean,
No.
I don't think it's going to be that. I do see it though in 2 or 3 years. You better watch out going. You better
Yeah.
watch out.
Yeah, I absolutely do think that within 2 to 3 years we will be talking about United challenging for things. Obviously, it's hard to know what's going to happen with City and Liverpool in the meantime. Um, I mean, hey, what's up, Io? Good to have you.
Io.
It's there are a lot of variables, but just focusing on the club itself, I think plenty of players are going to want to come play for Eric Ten Hag and Manchester United.
Mm-hmm.
Even with some of the issues that the club's had over the last few years, it's still Manchester United, and it would mean something for plenty of players to not just lift a trophy at Manchester United, but be somebody who was part of the big rebuild that rescued this club from the doldrums of a sixth place finish, which what a weird world. There's tons of clubs that would kill for that aren't all that far away. I mean, they're. I tell you, Everton would love to have finished sixth place.
Oh yeah.
Aston Villa,
Right.
would love to have finished in sixth place. So, there's a lot to be cautiously optimistic about, and there are good players at the club, and they're going to be talking to other good players, and hopefully they can get it sorted out. We need that chemistry back. That's the main thing. So, and with that, I think Evan may have frozen yet again. So, we will move on to halftime, and uh, don't want to rehash too much, but I think it's important to keep in mind, um, you know, what's going on in the world, and acknowledge that. Simultaneously, congratulations to Roma and their manager Jose Mourinho, who they won the Europa Conference League trophy today. First time it was ever held, new competition. Largely a money scheme, but hey, got to get more clubs for the TV. I understand it. So, but that makes Jose Mourinho the first manager to lift the Champions League, Europa League, and Europa Conference League. So, congrats to him. And
did you just say congratulations to Jose Mourinho?
yeah, I did. I mean, I
wow.
think people move on, and he was not. He will. He won things for Manchester. He's the last manager to win something major for
Sure.
Manchester United,
Yeah.
and he's still one of the greatest managers of all time. And he seems to have found a little bit of a home there in
Yes.
Rome. So I wish him the
agree.
best. He's got a good club. He's got some cast off. It's kind of funny. He's got Smalling and Tamori and Tammy Abraham. Some guys that clubs didn't want that were thought to be up and coming or established big name players. And here's
Yep.
Jose. If anybody saw the match day, Chris Smalling was imperious as a defender. So, well, he should count it as a trophy. It's a trophy. The players celebrated it and they put on a competition. And it's not as silly as the World Club Cup or anything like that. I mean, this was a knockout tournament among second and third tier. I can't even say that. I mean, you don't say Roma is a second or third tier team.
No.
They put themselves in a position to be in this particular league, but it is what it is. I mock it a little bit for the money grab and all that, but we all still tuned in. It still made millions of television dollars. People care to watch these clubs play,
Right.
And it was a decent
Right.
match. So congrats to them.
There you go. No, I think that any trophy that you
get, I think that we saw that with Liverpool,
right? I mean, we saw that with Liverpool and how disappointed, obviously, they were with the Premier League, which, by the way, how fun was this weekend, man. I mean, it was cool to watch. It was really cool to watch. What's going on?
Phenomenal.
Okay.
Absolutely phenomenal end to the Premier League. It's why it's the best league in the world. It's the most exciting. There's drama at all ends of the table and in the middle for people hunting for other spots too. So it's just wonderful. Wonderful league. It was exciting to watch. And in spite of who lifted the trophy, you got to give props to how they went about it, and it was exciting. And from a neutral perspective, good on the league. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our take on the blue and the red, the season overlook, what's to look ahead for. This is supposed to be our short show. So, I think we should probably push off that Group E until, our big show so we can take a look at maybe Group E and F just to do that. But do you want to talk a little bit about what we are discussing doing this summer and resurrecting?
Yes, I'm going to do my shot anyway, though.
Well, wait. Hang on. It's no. The end shot or halftime shot. Well, our halftime shot, but now because it's a short show, is our end shot. Aaron, who are you shooting to, my friend? Who are you giving your shot to, buddy?
That was halftime. So Roma and Jose Mourinho.
There you go.
I'll give props to them.
To the golden one.
But yeah, folks, I think we gonna switch back to kind of an every other week thing with the summer coming up and no summer tournament. Just not going to be as much content going on. And you know what? It's summer. We want to enjoy it. So we'll probably be hitting you every couple of weeks on Wednesday night. Again, talking about any... is the Premier League becoming boring? I'm pretty sure I just answered that question by saying it's the most exciting league in the world.
Wow.
I assume you're asking that from the standpoint of because it's just City and Liverpool. Yeah, I see your follow-up. No, I don't think so. One, there was still the drama of those two clubs going at it, so
Right,
you know
right.
it wasn't like that. And I don't think you know last couple years they've obviously been the two dominant teams. I don't think they can keep that level up. I think we've already seen some chinks in the armor for both clubs. I said it before, and I'll continue to say it. I've never seen four teams in the semifinals of the Champions League that I thought had such obvious weaknesses, and I'm going to put weaknesses, in air quotes there because obviously they're top level clubs. They're in the semifinals, but I mean Liverpool and City both have bad lapses in concentrations a couple times a match. Their system of play exposes their defenders in a way that everybody talks about. I'm going to pick on Joao Cancelo and Trent Alexander-Arnold. These guys are some of the best wingbacks in the world going forward.
Sure, sure.
And they're obviously good defenders, or they would not be pulling on those jerseys. But they're not lockdown defenders. They can't. Joao Cancelo got exploited over the weekend. We saw City's defense in the Champions League. We've seen it happen to Liverpool where they've been hit for a couple goals in a row. So unless they really, really retool in some of those areas, I think teams are starting to figure out a little bit. I think we're assuming that Erling Haaland's going to hit the ground and score 40 goals, and he may very well.
Yes,
he may very well, but he may not be able to stay healthy. And then City's back to not having a true striker on the field, and obviously that has only hurt them in the highest competitions. But that's all they exist for anymore.
Well,
City,
I think
City exists to win the Premier League and the Champions League.
yes, yes. But I think that what that might do, and I'm able to, I jumped on and saw your comments. I agree. I mean, it very well could be disheartening, I guess you could say, to the other clubs. It's like, oh my God, what's going on? I think that when you're number one, people gun for you. I think that, for a long time, especially in, different leagues, you look at the New England Patriots, you look at the Detroit Red Wings, you look at, the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think people look at those clubs, at a certain time and they're like, oh my gosh, we can't beat them. We can't beat them. I think it forces people to do one of two things. Number one, I think you very well can do what, unfortunately, the Cincinnati Reds have done and just trust in the fact that their fan base are going to still be there. Or number two, you actually go out, you propagate and you build and you grow good players, and you go out and you do those big signings. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went after Tom Brady. Why do you go after Tom Brady when he's 40 plus years old? Because he's the best. And so I think that it can spur clubs to become better. I think it just depends on, are you able to get the right blend? Because, bringing it back to Chelsea, we thought we had the right match with Lukaku, and it didn't quite work out.
Right.
So I think that, you've got to have management in there that's willing to take a chance, that's willing to jump, willing to take a shot. And I think you have to have a fan base that's understanding of that. A fan base that's like, okay, if you sign Lukaku and he doesn't work out, we're not going to, we're not going to riot. We're going to trust that you see the same thing we do and you're going to move on. So I think that once you build that, I guess, emotional capital, I think that you can develop a club and a fan base that can be resilient and that can eventually build. I think that the proof of this is Leicester City. I mean, you had Jamie Vardy, what was that, 15 when they won?
15.
They came out of relegation in 14. And so I think that if you have the right mix of people, the right blend of people, you can catch lightning in a bottle, especially in this league. You can. So I don't. Yeah, that's all I gotta say.
I think what we're getting at here, though, is that Liverpool and City have set such a high bar over the last couple of seasons that just going out and buying one or two players for a Chelsea or a Manchester United or an Arsenal or Tottenham, it takes so much more than that. And Klopp
Sure.
and Guardiola are the kings at building this. Can Eric Ten Hag do it? Can Tuchel do it? You know,
Yeah.
they're very good managers themselves. What's the X factor that Pep
Right.
and Klopp have been able to bring to things? And I think it's an understanding with their ownership groups of saying, these are the players that this is the type of player I need. You need to go out and get me this type of player. If they don't even go as far as saying I want this specific player, you know, obviously
Yeah.
Holland is a target because he's a true number 9, but he's also Erling Haaland. I mean, the guy's freakishly good when he's healthy.
Yeah.
Will his body hold up for the rigors of the Premier League? That's a good question.
We'll see. I mean, but if he had to go with any team in order to kind of see if that works,
Sure.
Pep is the right choice. You know, I because for as much as I dislike the guy, just simply because, you know, my significant other loves him. I don't know. I won't get into that right now. But anyway, as much as I dislike him because he's with the other team, he's a phenomenal manager. And I think that he can take someone like Holland, and even when Holland isn't playing well, can determine the right time to bring him in so he can be effective. I mean, look at what he did. I'm not taking anything away from Gundogan, but the guy had not been in the lineup for the past 3 or 4 matches. Pep, I'm not trying to, you know, tout him, but Pep knew the guy was due. I think good managers know when guys are ready to come out of a slump, when they're ready to. And I think Tuchel showed that this year a little bit. I think he put in, he put in Lukaku at the right time. He put in Werner at the right time. Ziyech, he put in at the right time. So I think that he understands that. But it'll be interesting to see what happens, man. Next year.
What you just said illustrates the main difference. Hakim Ziyech and Timo Werner do not belong in the same conversation with Ilkay Gundogan. And Manchester City have probably 2 guys at every position. I mean,
sure.
he has the luxury of saying, I don't think Gundogan's been playing all that well. So I can take him out, but he can take Gundogan out because he's got 3-4 other guys he can put in that position. One of Manchester United's biggest problems this year was twofold. One, they weren't very deep. They didn't go deep in a lot of positions. And 2, very clearly, neither Ole nor Ralph trusted the guys he had in backup for whatever reason, because there were guys on the bench that went unused. Say what you want about Jesse Lingard. He runs his ass off. And when you're standing there watching Bruno Fernandes gassed out 10 minutes into the match, if you don't give those guys an opportunity, you're telling everybody else they don't get an opportunity to. And that was a huge failure for United on 2 levels. They didn't have a deep enough squad, and they didn't use the guys they did have. So, you know, it hurts some teams. You look at a club like West Ham, their first 11, 12, 13 players can compete with the top 4. They're not going to challenge for a title, but they can compete. The problem is they get a couple guys injured, and all of a sudden it's a problem for them to go away to play against Norwich and Stoke. And this is what we're all trying to build. And, you know, Ayo's right too. Yeah, the Klopp and Guardiola fit the personas of their club perfectly. I mean, the question is, how much longer are both of them going to stay? I know Klopp just signed an extension. I would not be surprised to see Pep pull, pull
a Mourinho.
No, Pep's not going to leave a dumpster fire. Pep is not going to leave behind a dumpster fire. But I could see Pep waking up and going, I just don't think we have it anymore, or I have it and I want to move on. I could see him doing it. I'm not saying he will, but I wouldn't be surprised by it.
Wow. So, well, dang. Ladies and gentlemen, this turned into a long show.
Yeah.
Part because of my issues. I have no idea what's going on. We'll try and get that figured out. Actually, I kind of like this. This format is okay. It seems like it's doing well. So, ladies and gentlemen, Aaron informed me that it is National Wine Day.
It is National Wine Day.
I had already poured a margarita for tonight because it's also, in my terms, beginning of summer, because the Indy 500 is going to be ran this weekend, and that's the way I celebrate. But hey, here's to International Wine Day.
International Wine Day. I'm drinking a fine unoaked Chardonnay from Castello di Amorosa in Northern California. Enjoy.
And I am drinking bread and butter Chardonnay from CVS. So
I do. You know what? Bread and butter is actually nice. It's a good
nice.
one.
It is nice, dude.
It is nice.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the best part of the show the second best part of the show, because first part of the show I like is just simply being with my friend. Second part of the show is just letting him just, pontificate us out of our podcast. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us tonight. We will update you via our Facebook page and let you know what's going on with our formatting shift during the summer. We'll be looking at transfer windows. We'll be looking at also issues of the day. So we'll be kind of reverting back to, like Aaron said, our parents show. So I'm looking forward to that. But my brother, love you.
Hi, bro.
It's been a bit of a time for reflection, and looking back on what we've sort of seen in the couple of years that we've been doing this, and unfortunately, it's some similar things. 2 years ago we were talking about George Floyd and police brutality and things of that nature, and I don't think we've really seen an alleviation of that in the last couple of years. I guarantee you we were talking about a school shooting or a supermarket shooting or a church shooting, and I'm almost positive every one of those involved a young male with mental issues and access to high ammunition, high-powered weaponry. There's been no change to that. But today's another anniversary. And 1 year ago today, I got released from the hospital after probably one of the scariest events of my entire life. And what all those things have in common is that don't take life for granted. If you love somebody, hug them, tell them you love them. If you got things you want to do, go do it. Don't make excuses. Get out there and do it. And if you see injustice in the world, stand up, be an ally. That's one of the hugest things. I think one of the biggest bonds that Evan and I have, and one of the bonds that we've had with an awful lot of people who've tuned into the show and talked to us throughout. And that is, we're there, we're present. We stand side by side, and we are there to support and help and lead when called upon. So don't take life for granted. It's very important. We love having you all tune in. Love the interaction. I love talking to people about this beautiful game. Whether it's somebody at a pub that has never seen the game before and needs me to explain what the Champions League is, or somebody who's been following the game longer than I am and wants to talk about the deep rivalry between Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund or something like that. So just happy to have you all. Don't take life for granted. Just be as positive you can be in face of some of the evil in the world, because you can brighten somebody's day and not even realize it by just saying a nice bit of word or just having a smile on your face. So that's all I got for tonight, folks. I'm pretty happy to still be here, and I'm pretty happy to be doing this show with my buddy Evan. So cheers to you all out there, and we will be letting you know how we're moving forward with the show, but we will be here, and we hope you'll join us. So take care, y'all.
Sláinte, my friend.
Hashtag say gay.
Hashtag Black people vote.
We out.
Vote.